A normal day began across the world without warning, just like any other. People woke up, checked their phones, opened social media, streamed music, sent messages, and started working. Everything felt stable, familiar, and automatic. The internet had become so deeply embedded in daily life that nobody even thought about it anymore. It was not seen as a tool. It was the environment itself. Then, at exactly the same moment worldwide, it stopped working. No connection, no networks, no websites, no messages, no cloud systems, no navigation, no digital payments, just silence inside every device. At first, people assumed it was a small glitch. Servers go down sometimes. Apps crash. Networks lag. It happens every day somewhere in the world. But within minutes, confusion spread. Banks could not process transactions. ATMs froze mid-operation. Digital wallets stopped responding. Stores that relied on card payments suddenly had no way to complete sales. At airports, flight systems went dark. Planes still in the air continued flying, but ground control systems lost contact with them. Delays turned into chaos. Hospitals experienced a more dangerous problem. Patient records stored online could not be accessed. Machines connected to networks began failing in unexpected ways. Doctors were forced to switch back to manual methods, but even basic coordination became difficult. Governments attempted to issue emergency alerts, but communication systems were fragmented. Phone networks partially worked in some regions, but without internet support, coordination collapsed quickly. Within just a few hours, modern civilization began to slow down. People started stepping outside their homes more often, confused and anxious. Streets filled with individuals staring at dead screens, trying to understand what was happening. News stations could not update their broadcast properly. Without internet feeds, even traditional media lost its real-time information source. Anchors repeated uncertain reports, guessing more than knowing. In major cities, transportation systems began to fail. Traffic lights malfunctioned. Navigation systems in cars stopped working. Ride services disappeared instantly. People who depended entirely on GPS suddenly found themselves lost even in familiar places. Supermarkets faced panic buying within hours. People rushed to stores, not because of hunger, but because uncertainty spread faster than information. Without online banking or payment systems, cash became valuable again overnight, something many younger generations barely carried. Communication became the biggest crisis. Without messaging apps, emails, or social media, people had no way to contact distant family or friends. Phone calls still worked in limited areas, but overloaded networks quickly collapsed under demand. Entire families tried to reach each other at the same time, creating network failures that made the situation worse. In workplaces, productivity froze instantly. Offices that depended on cloud systems, online documents, and remote servers could no longer function. Employees sat in silence, staring at screens that had once controlled their entire working lives. Factories that used automated systems began slowing down. Supply chains, which relied on real-time digital coordination, started breaking apart. Deliveries stopped moving smoothly. Goods were stuck in warehouses, ports, and highways. Within 24 hours, the global economy entered a state of shock. But something unexpected also began to happen. As the digital noise disappeared, physical reality returned. People began talking to each other in person again. Neighbors stepped outside and asked questions face-to-face instead of through screens. Streets filled with real human voices instead of notifications. Children played outside because their devices no longer worked. Families gathered in living rooms without distractions, simply because there was nothing else to do. But underneath this temporary reconnection, fear was growing. No one knew if the internet would return. Scientists had no immediate explanation. Some suspected cyber attacks. Others thought it might be a massive technical failure in global infrastructure. A few feared something far more unknown, an irreversible collapse of the entire digital backbone of civilization. As night fell, cities looked different. Billboards stayed dark. Neon screens were off. Skyscrapers that once glowed with digital advertisements now stood silent under natural light and shadows. Without internet synchronization, the world felt disconnected, slower, heavier. People tried to sleep, but uncertainty made it difficult. Because for the first time in modern history, humanity had lost something it completely depended on without even realizing it. By the second day, deeper consequences began to appear. Supply chains were breaking. Emergency services were overwhelmed. Financial systems were unstable. But more importantly, people began to realize a disturbing truth. The modern world was not designed to function without the internet anymore. It was not just communication. It was banking, transport, health, education, military coordination, government systems, entertainment, and identity itself. Everything was connected, and now everything was uncertain. In the silence of a disconnected world, one question spread silently across every mind. Was this just a temporary outage, or the beginning of a permanent change in human civilization?